Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Plot podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined by internationally best-selling romance author Leeanne Slade. Leanne is the author of much-loved novels including The Rebound, Told You So, The Glitch, and The Return of Ruby Darling. Her books have topped Audible charts around the world. They've been translated into multiple languages and were named Audible Best of the Year in both 2023 and 2024. Known for writing emotionally rich love stories with humor, heart, and relatable characters, Leanne has built a loyal readership through stories that explore relationships, self-worth, vulnerability, and second chances. Her novel, The Glitch, is also currently in development as a feature film with Searchlight Pictures. Yay! In this conversation, we talk about imposter syndrome, navigating publishing success, writing emotionally authentic romance, the realities of reading reader feedback, and balancing creativity with motherhood and everyday life. I absolutely loved my time chatting to Leanne. Hopefully that came through in the conversation. It's a really honest, insightful, and inspiring discussion, and I'm so excited to share it with you. So please go and check Leanne out. Sit back, listen, hear her story, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, or share with your friends, colleagues, and family members. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy. Welcome, Leanne. How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really, really well. Thank you so much for joining. I've been, following you for a little while now. So excited to hear your journey because I'm very excited because slightly different, and I'll get you to introduce yourself in a moment, but I love the fact that you've gone straight onto audio. So I'm very excited to kind of learn your pathway and get you to share kind of what that story and journey looked like to the listeners who are listening in today. But before we step into that, why don't you introduce yourself for everyone listening?
Yeah. So, hello, I'm Leanne Slade. I write contemporary romance, started off rom-coms. Sometimes they're a little bit speculative. Sometimes they're a little bit gut-wrenching. They're, across the spectrum, I'd say, of romance. And I am, as Lisa said, I'm releasing with Audible. So everything I write at the moment goes to Audible-first, which is a really different way of working and a different way of becoming an author. But yeah, honestly, it's just been, I've had the most crazy path considering I only started this 3 years ago, and I'm now coming up on my 6th book this summer. So it's just been an absolute whirlwind of just, going from literally no writing experience properly to being a full-time author and getting to do things like this. It's wild.
Crazy, isn't it? I'm so pleased for you because when you have a dream and it finally becomes real and you're living in it, it's so rewarding. But sometimes I think that we don't always acknowledge we're living it, and we're always trying to work to the next project or the next deadline. But I looked at kind of, how far you've come in such a short period, and it's phenomenal, right? It's probably a pinch me moment sometimes that you think, I mean, I was looking at some of the actors who have voiced the character and I was like, oh my God, I love him, I love her, like, and they're like they're
Big names. Honestly, when they send me the list, every book, we're jumping way ahead now, but every book they send me a list of these are the people we're thinking of, like, what are your thoughts? And honestly, every single time I get this list, I go, I'll have any of them. Like, they will all be amazing. I would literally be privileged to have every single one of these. And then they're like, well, we'll start with this one and we'll see how we get on. And every single time they're like, oh yeah, they're going to do it. And I'm like, what is happening? So yeah, it's great fun. That's my favorite part of the process, really, is this little email that says casting news. And I'm like, oh.
And they must love it because it's something a bit different for them, right? They're not having to go on screen and they're not having to, I suppose they must sit in a chair, right? And then they can.
Yeah. So I saw Eleanor Tomlinson, who did Return of Ruby Darling. I went up to see her record some, and I also saw Claudia Jessie when she did This Christmas, so the Rebound sequel. And it's just the most chill environment. They literally just have them there. They've got all of their drinks. They've got like the director and then like the producer in the other room, and they will literally just read it. And it's so, I mean, for me, it was the most amazing experience because you're literally listening to your words be performed.
Yeah.
We were listening to Eleanor when she was doing some of it, and she got right to the pivotal point of a chapter, and I knew it was coming, but I still went. So it's like they bring it to life so well that it just becomes this really exciting experience. So, but for them as actors, they just come in. I think Eleanor, she was saying that it was her first job after maternity leave.
Okay.
I have 2 children, so massively relate to the stress of back into the flow of things. And she was just so thrilled to be there because she was like, this is how I've spent my week. I just come in, sit down, chill, and do a big reading. It's probably quite low pressure in terms of
Yes.
sets and cameras and lights and everything.
Yeah. Quite calming. Yeah. Like you said,
Yeah.
coming back from like maternity leave, it can be quite daunting, can't it? Taking that first step back into a job that were doing previously, but now you've got an addition or maybe another addition. And it's like, okay, I've got to try and be
Yeah.
myself. I've got to be professional. I've got to do my job. And I'm still like having sleepless nights and so on and so
Yeah,
forth. So
it's that switch, isn't it? Like you drop
yeah.
them at nursery or school or wherever, and then you kind of get back in the car and you're like, right, okay, out of mum mode
Yes.
into normal human being mode. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's so true.
we'll talk about
I
Blue.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I would love personally to know this, and I know the listeners would love to know your journey to where, how you got to
Yeah,
this moment. So, a moment ago, you shared that you've been out, you've been published now for about 3 years, but prior to
yeah,
that, you didn't really have much experience. So when did it first start for you? What did that look like?
yeah. It's so. Do you know what? It's nothing like I would have ever expected. And I listen to so many other people's stories because I'm fascinated by them, and I find the publishing industry as a whole really kind of difficult to wrap your head around because there's no cut and paste story. Everyone has a different one. And
Oh,
mine
yeah.
just feels so left wing that every time I listen to them, I'm like, oh, wow, I wonder what that would have been like. I used to write when I was a teenager
Yeah.
in my room, like angsty, listening to Avril Lavigne and Blink 182, like news, honestly, but I'm proud of it now. I'm proud of it. And I would just write like almost like diaristic stuff, but like little short stories and poems
Mm,
and songs. I found it really cathartic as a teenager. So I
yeah.
used to do that all the time. And then obviously I went to university and fell out of that because naturally it just, you grow up and you just, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I just sort of fell out of it. And I was doing I was doing sort of a media degree
Yeah.
with a lot of communications and sort of PR in the background, marketing, that sort of thing. So that English side of it slipped away, even though I'd loved it at school and college.
Mm,
You kind of go into a different way of thinking. So I left it behind, went into corporate work, had my first child, and then literally on maternity leave, I was overcome with this really strange feeling of loving being in that bubble.
hmm
And then it was about 5 months, and I genuinely used to say to people, "I've completed Netflix. I've completed there's nothing like, I've seen everything." And I used to watch daytime TV, just having it on in the background while I was
Yeah.
breastfeeding, cleaning, and I was like, my brain needs something." And I've always been a voracious reader, but for me, it was holidays. It was like my treat,
Yeah.
reading.
hmm
Didn't have time to fit it in, and obviously now
Yeah.
I'm always reading, always make time to read. When you're in that phase and you kind of fall out of habit, it's easy to just sort of put that on the back burner. And I'd always, as I said, I've always been a huge reader. So maybe if I write a book, which when you have a, I think, what on earth was that all about? With a 5-month-old, yeah, I'm going to try and write a book. But it just for me became this really fun hobby. So I would put him
Yeah.
down for a nap, or he'd be feeding, etc., and I'd be on my phone just typing little snippets. Flash forward about 4 months, and I had a awful young adult dystopian novel, which, yeah, well, we learned, we all start somewhere. So it was great fun, and I really enjoyed writing it. And then I sent it to my best friend, who is my biggest cheerleader. I love her to bits. And she said, "It's really good." And I tease her about that all the time because I'm like, really? Was it? Was it? But bless her, she stands by it and she says it was really good. So I then just had this, well, why don't I just try and do something with it? I think I'd been
Yeah.
working at sales, like marketing, sort of advertising sales for a really long time at that point, nearly 10 years. And so I built up this huge resilience of rejection because when you work in
Yes.
sales, you hear no
Mhm.
constantly. You just have to keep rolling with it. So I didn't
Yeah.
have fear of what if people hate it. I just thought, but why not? Why would I not try? Like,
Yeah,
even
exactly,
if
yeah.
it ends up with no, at least I know that I can sort of put that in the back of my mind and close that door. So anyway, flash forward, I sent it out. Terrible query letter, terrible synopsis, terrible book. I got some very kind feedback from a select few agents that said, like, this book's not really working. It's not quite right. But I love
Yeah.
your voice. I love your writing. So if you write something else, please think of me.
Okay.
Oh, I started Googling. I was like, is this just something people say? And it's like, oh, maybe it's not. Okay, maybe it's not. And it just sort of sat with me. And in the end, I went back to work after maternity leave and, completely honest, really struggled. It was one of the most difficult things I'd ever done, just that transition. And
Yeah.
I had postnatal depression, which I didn't realize until I had my second child a few years later and was diagnosed almost in hindsight. But
Hmm.
at that point, when I went back to work, I was really, really low. And writing was one of the few joys that I would have when I would get home and be like, right, okay, well, that book didn't work. So maybe I should sort of just take my cues from what the agent said and try and write something else. And
Yeah.
romance for me has always been like my favorite genre. I don't really know why I didn't jump straight into it. I think it was just probably what I was watching on Netflix at the time was influencing me. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll jump into romance. And that was when I started writing The Rebound. And yeah, again, I'll jump forward in the story, but I think it was a year, 2 years later,
Yeah.
I connected with my agent. And bless her, she was like, you're an absolute natural at this genre, but I think we need some tweaks. Like, would you be willing to like get on a call and we'll discuss it and talk
Yeah.
about like restructure and things like that? And I was like, yes, absolutely, I would. So we got together and she gave me all these incredible ideas. And then I went away, kind of rewrote the whole book basically in 6 weeks. I
Yeah.
was all possessed. I was just like,
I
this is
am doing this.
yeah, if I want to start, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. And so yeah, and then what we ended up with was The Rebound. She read it. She was like, I love it. Let's do this. We'll send it out. And yeah, and then obviously we were kind of still on the tail end of COVID at that point. So
Yes.
everything was a bit slower and a bit more confusing. But I was also pregnant with my second child. Thankfully, Audible got hold of the book and
Okay.
completely fell in love with it. And yeah, I suppose from that perspective, the rest is history because yeah, once they were in the picture, it was just, and I think because as I said, I've been working in radio sales, advertising sales, but that was in radio. So I had 10 years of radio experience. So when
Yeah.
Audible came to the table, it was kind of like, oh, audio. I know audio. Like I've done this for so
Like I'm
long.
meant to be.
Yeah, I'm so familiar with it. And I know I always used to say, like in my sales pitches, that, audio is a friend. It's not just a medium. People
Yeah.
resonate with it so differently to how they resonate with other forms. Get my little soapbox out. But I have such a love and a passion for it as a medium that when they came to the table, it's like, yeah, okay, I like this. It fits. It fits with
Yeah.
what I know and it fits with what I'm confident in. And like, let's just do it. Let's do it. Because
Yeah.
I think obviously when I started that process, of course, in my head was paperbacks and digital and ebooks
Yeah.
and et cetera, et cetera. And it took me a while to get my head around the fact that that would come later. But
Mm.
because Audible was such a phenomenon and they'd really supported me the way that perhaps a traditional publisher wouldn't have,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I just was like, I'm just going to jump in. And yeah, it's been like the best decision. The best
That's
decision.
so nice.
I feel
And
like I'm
how?
ranting now. I'm just my life story.
No, well, and this is what we want to hear, right? Because I mean, first of all, I think just how you expressed there that writing was something that truly made you happy and that you could
Yeah.
go to, right? Because I think, and especially romance always has a happy ending, right? It almost gives us that escapism to live that other life and have,
Yeah.
so maybe if you're not feeling necessarily happy in yourself at that time, you can
Yeah.
escape into a different world and be part of those characters who are on that journey or who have become happy. And it gives you that sense of feeling of actually
Exactly.
everything's going to be okay.
Because as I said, when I was writing the dystopian, obviously there's darkness and there's political,
Yes.
I love it, and there's all this miserableness. Whereas actually, when I switched to writing romance, it was like, this fits, this
Yeah.
fits, and it feels like everything about it is. I mean, I say everything about it is joyous. Writing a book is really hard and really stressful, but at the core, it's just a lovely, warm thing, and I always
Yeah.
say like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I make up stories about people kissing, like, because it is happy, and I'm really defensive of the genre. And anyone who says like, oh, romance, this and this, I'm like, stop. We're not doing this today.
Eh,
I love
I'm
it.
not being funny, but there's a romantic side or element to everybody. I mean, whether it's reading, whether it's music, whether it's movies, like I'm not being funny, but love comes into like every kind of creative area.
Exactly. I mean, you look at the biggest shows in the world, like you look at Game of Thrones. It's
Yes.
filled with a lot of things, but it's filled with love stories as well. And I think love
Yes.
is the
Yes.
most universal feeling in the world. We can all
Yeah.
relate to it on some level, whether it's familial or with a partner, however, children. It is just such a universal feeling and a
Mhm.
universal experience. And just bringing that to life on a page is lovely. Like,
Yeah.
why would we be mad about that? Why are
You
why are
know.
we quick to just hate joy?
Yeah.
Let's just embrace it more. Anyway.
These cynical people out there. So with your agent then, when did they think, oh, hey, I'm going to look down the lens of Audible and, traditional published
Yeah.
book, like, and then Audible came to them? Is that kind of how it
Yeah, so
worked?
it was kind of new. I was almost like one of the first to jump on the Audible track as
Mm.
it because they were doing Audible Originals as they are
Yeah,
now, and there's loads of us now. There's absolutely, Portia McIntosh has come on board. Obviously, she's a prolific romance writer, and then Lisa Jewell, she's releasing an
yeah,
Audible Original this year. So there's lots of us getting involved, but it was really early doors, and I think there'd been a few in the US, like Cara Bastone. She's massive now, obviously
yeah.
successful, but started with Audible Originals in the US. It was almost this early doors of this is what we're
Mm,
going to do, and it's going to work. And it was like,
yeah,
okay, let's hope all right, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. So I think when we were looking at the picture, we were, as I said, we went out to everybody. We were just, completely open and to see what
yeah,
happened. Once Audible read it, they would, the thing is as well with traditional publishing is you want to feel like you have somebody behind you.
mm,
And the second that Audible got involved, I did. And I knew that
yeah,
they understood the vision and they knew what I was about and they knew what I was trying to achieve. And they were just so passionate. And I think
yeah,
when you have that, because I mean, traditional publishing, it can go anyway. But if you
yeah,
don't get, someone behind you who's fully supportive and really wants it to be a success, it's really difficult to break through. Whereas with them, from
yeah,
the instant I knew, I was like, oh, they like this. They really like this
yeah.
book and wanted, and the names they were bringing to the table, I was like, okay.
They're
So
fully invested in you, right? Which is what you want. Yeah, yeah,
I think that was more confidence to be like, okay, this is a completely different way of doing it. But that doesn't mean it's a bad way of doing it. It just means we're kind of, the book, the physical element
yeah,
of it will just come after. So
yeah. I love that. And how long does it take? Because obviously, when typically when someone goes out to query and a publisher picks it up or an agent picks it up, it can be then like another couple of years until that book is
yeah,
actually
yeah,
released. So your time frame then much quicker than that?
so quick. And I love that because I'm the most impatient person in the world,
Yeah,
which
same.
when you're in publishing is literally like makes you want to weep. In my corporate world as well, I would have people would come to me and say, "I want to be on the radio tomorrow," and it would be like, "I'm going to drop everything. We're going to make this happen. We're getting this
Yeah,
advert on there." And then with publishing, it's like, "Yeah, we'll sort that out next year." And you're like,
yeah,
"But it's March," so like, what's happening? It's just such a slower pace. But yeah, so to give you an idea, I'm finishing my book Lovers and Liars, which is coming out this summer.
yeah,
We're just going into kind of like a copy edit phase of editing, like one of the latter ones. And that will be coming out in the summer. So we literally, as soon as the book is finished, it goes
yeah.
straight into like the casting production side of things.
Wow.
Spends about 4 or 5 months in that phase,
Yeah,
getting everything ready and, getting everybody lined up. And then as soon as it's ready, like literally within a couple of weeks, it goes live. So we just
crazy.
don't have any downtime. It literally just goes from this is the book, edited, casting, production. And then I start work on the next one, which is why
Yeah,
The Rebound came out 3 years ago this month, and I'm
yeah.
literally on book 6 because
And
it's
you're on book
just
6. Yeah. So
yeah, it's just
you're probably
been
doing what, two a year, basically?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I suppose they don't feel like that because they always seem to just roll into each other. You never really have that clean cut off of this one's
Yes.
done onto the next one because you're already, oh, I've been writing that
Yeah.
one for a few months, so they feel like they do this. But yeah, I suppose because I'm doing it full time, I don't want anyone listening to be like, oh my gosh, I can't write 2 books a year. Like, no, 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 no. Most people can't. Don't panic. It's just
Yes.
that I'm doing it as a full time job now. So I
Yeah.
spend every day pretty
Yeah,
much at my laptop working
it's
9 to
your full
5.
job.
So yeah, and I just, that's why I'm able to do it a lot
Yeah.
quicker than most.
So in terms of like deals then, because obviously this is you've got your 6th book coming out this year. So do they offer you the same? Like, did they offer you an instant to book deal, or was it like straight
Yeah,
to?
first one was 2 books. So we had The Rebound ready to go, obviously aside from edits, and then we also had, because of the way my agent had put it all out to pitch, we also had a second idea which was Told You So,
Yeah.
and that was, I think we had 3, 4, 5 chapters,
Yeah.
100 words maybe. We had that sort of ready to go as well. So when Audible read The Rebound, they were like, "What are the other ideas? What else is on the
Yeah.
table?" And I was like, "Oh, I have this one, this shiny new one." So they read that and they really liked that as well. They were like, "So we'll take that for 2 books." And that was how I got my sort of first start. And I loved that
Amazing.
really because the security of literally, I just had a baby, I had a tiny newborn baby, and it was like, "We want
Yeah.
to do it for you." It was like, thank goodness, okay, I've got a little bit of security and
Yeah.
just a little bit of like the future to see what's happening. And yeah,
Yeah.
and then we went in and we did the glitch, which just went crazy and did really well.
Yeah.
So it's just been a snowball effect from there. But yeah, I've got 3 more after Lovers and Liars. I've got 2 more after Lovers and Liars still on contract. So
Brilliant.
I'm a very happy lady right now.
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah. And
I'm,
I mean, on that then, because I mean, you've got to keep producing, right, these
yes.
stories. So where does your inspiration come from? Like, I mean, yeah, because it can be a bit of a pressure, right? This saying like, oh, I've got to keep
Yeah.
producing. I've got to keep producing things that are working. So yeah, where do you get your inspiration from? Where do these stories
Do you know what?
originate from?
They all come from different places. I mean, I listen to music like you wouldn't believe. It's just a constant. My Spotify stats at the end of the year are just like, how many hours? I'm sorry, I'm just awkwardly weird. But I get a lot of inspiration from music, things that will kind of trigger an emotion. But the rebound came from listening to, and I hate saying this because everyone's like, oh God, I was there first. Champagne Problems by Taylor Swift. I've been I was a Taylor Swift fan and I used to have to defend being a Taylor Swift fan. I
Yes.
was like, really good. They were like, really? I heard Shake It Off. And I was like, no, listen to them. So yeah, that came from there. I just loved the idea of sort of turning down a proposal. And that was
Hmm.
where Rebound, obviously that happens right at the beginning of the book. She says no to a proposal and how that goes on. Because normally with most romance books, the proposal comes at the end and everyone's happy and
Yes.
it's all tied up. And I just thought that was a really fun. So
Yeah.
Champagne Problems drew on that angsty,
Yeah.
what if you say no, but you don't want to say no, but you do want to say no. So that fed into that. Told You So came after I read The Guest List by Lucy Foley, which was
Yeah.
who done it on a remote wedding.
Yeah.
And I was reading it and I just kept thinking, what if this was a rom-com? And instead of who's dead, it's who's the love interest.
Yeah.
And I had this idea. I had the name Told You So in my head for years. I really like that. I think there's something there. And that's when the psychic element came into it of she predicts that she's going to be with the love of her life and she has to figure it out which one of these beautiful
Ah.
men could it possibly be. So that's a super fun one. And then the glitch this was such a random one. I went to see my agent in London and I'm not in London very often, maybe a couple of times a year. And I was going down the huge escalators for the tube.
Yes.
And I had this moment of, oh my God, imagine if I saw someone that I knew, but when you have that, like, oh, we
Yes.
don't know each other anymore, that kind of element of like, what if and it wasn't a specific person, but just that visual when you're looking at people coming the other way on the escalators of what would I do? Would I say hello? Would I look away? And it just triggered the opening scene of The Glitch of just these two estranged lovers who haven't spoken
Yeah.
to each other in years, just coming face to face, like, oh, I've got to do this, hello. Like, ugh. And so, yeah, and then obviously the time travel element just kind of sprung as I was on the
Yeah.
train on the way back home. But yeah, they all kind of come from these
Love that.
random little places in my mind. And I'm a prolific daydreamer, like
Yes.
literally catch me in the car, I'm like, and that's kind of where they just sort of percolate in the back of my mind and just build from there.
That's so good though that you have that. It's just amazing. And I keep talking to so many different authors where like, they just decide, hey, I've just got this urge or like it's something happens in their life and they're like, I'm going to give this a go. And they turn out to be the most amazing authors. And it's like a moment in their life. It's like, I always say it's like a sliding doors moment and they
Yeah.
like something happens and they're like, oh, I've got this idea. I'm just going to put it down on paper or my laptop. And then their career just starts and don't get me wrong, like some people have spent years and years like tackling and sending their manuscripts out. Others have left it till they're in their 40s and then have kind of come up with an idea and kickstart their career. And I think what I love about this industry is, and those who are, whether you're published or, independent published or not published yet, I just think it's so special that it's something that you can do at any stage in your life. And I think the key message that I keep hearing, and I think it's really vital that we share, is that you don't necessarily have to go and get a creative writing degree or an English lit degree. Like you don't have to follow the old traditional way of people telling you have to do that. Otherwise you're no good. It's like, hold on a minute. If you've got an idea, you've got a voice, just write it down because you could be the next best, selling author out there. And I think we just need to keep encouraging people to just give it a go.
Well, that's that. I hugely reflect on that for myself because I just think, I went to a comprehensive school, I'm not privately educated. I have a very sort of working middle class background. it's just, you would always think of things like that as, oh, well, I need to go do this specific degree, and then
Mhm.
I need to get a master's, and then I probably need to have a relative who knows someone who's an agent, or like,
Yeah.
I think that you always feel that there's a lot of doors closed, but actually, like I did, I just sent out a load of emails
Yeah.
and said, hey, I've written a book. This is what the book is about. Would you
Yeah.
like to read it? And obviously, there's so much rejection that comes with that. It's
Yeah.
no, but I think everybody faces that. Even the best of the best get
Yeah.
rejected. It's a lot of it comes down to suitability and timing and
Mhm.
things like that. So you just have to find the one person. I think I spent like 4 or 5 years querying and just sort of
Yeah.
rewriting and editing and amending things. And there's so many careers and things where if you wanted to be an actress or you wanted to be a singer, or obviously talent is hugely important, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's not something you can just wake up and start applying for jobs for.
No.
Oh, I want to be EastEnders. I'm gonna
Yes.
I'm gonna go meet the casting director. Those doors are closed. Whereas I feel like publishing, if you have a voice and you have a story to tell, the doors
Mhm.
are open for you to just
Yeah.
knock on. They are right there. Just start knocking and just go for it, because you just don't know what will happen afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 100%. And like nowadays, obviously, you have to mainly go for an agent because a lot of time publishers won't accept unsolicited manuscripts and stuff. But even publishers will have like open days, right?
Yeah,
And so they'll have like once a month, they might open it on a Friday and you can send your um, manuscript, etc. But yeah, I think, like you said, it's much more available now, and I think there's an openness to it that
yeah, and even if you
hopefully,
get to the point where you think, "Oh, actually, traditional publishing is not working,"
yeah,
self-publishing is hugely prolific at the moment, and so many people are having a lot of success. And if you
yes,
I mean, so much credit to the people that do that, because when you do that, you go beyond being a writer, and you then have to be a
yeah,
marketeer, and you have to
mhm,
promote this. There's so many other different hats that you have to wear when you do that. But if you do that and you make it work,
yeah,
fair play, fair play. And there's like the success is theirs, it's yours for the taking.
yeah,
There are opportunities there, and there's been so many amazing people, especially in the romance genre, who have come from
yeah,
self-publishing and who have been picked up then to be traditionally published.
yeah,
And so it just shows that there's just a huge appetite for these stories. No matter who's telling them, we're
yeah,
all sort of
so true.
we're all yeah, and I think romance as a genre, from my experience, everyone has been incredibly welcoming. Everyone's
Mhm,
really supportive. We all just have that same mindset of, we love what we do and we love the stories
yeah,
we tell, and we're going to cheer each other on. So
yeah.
yeah, and that's you don't get that everywhere. You don't.
No, you don't. No, no. And I think it's a fantastic business to be in. Yes, there's ups and downs like any job that you're
Yeah,
doing, right? But I think comes with highs and lows. But I think the support network is
yeah,
fantastic and it lifts everybody up. And like you said,
yeah.
everyone is just
Like
so encouraging.
you look at Emily Henry, and obviously, she's flawless. I just love her. I
Yes,
love writing.
love her
But
too.
the better she does, the better it is for the rest of us, because if
Yeah.
she's not getting taken seriously, we get taken seriously. So and I think, years and years ago, women, we were always in this position of, we must, your success is taking away from, women have always been
Hmm.
taught up against each other and sort of fight for their place. But
Yeah.
actually, we're getting to a place now where we're like, we all rise. When one rises, we all
Yeah.
rise. And I think we just need to keep that going, because I feel like, as well, every romance author I've met is so fiercely defensive of it as a genre and as a
Hmm.
product, because we know how good it is, and we know
Yeah.
how important these stories are. And it's not just women falling in love with a random man who just happens to be hot,
Yeah.
but that is important. It's not about the journey that these women go on. When I'm writing, I'm always thinking, like with Kitty, who was in The Rebound, it was very much, she doesn't want to get married. And that was the root of her story, is
Yeah.
overcome this fear of wanting to get married, or is she going to accept that, actually, I don't want this, and it's everybody else that's pushing this on me?
Yeah.
And then with Lucy and Told You So, she was grieving, and there's
Yeah.
this huge, like, heart wrenching obstacle for her to not overcome, because I don't think grief is something to overcome, but she learns to grow around it, and she builds
Mm.
her life to accept that grief. I mean, with Grace in The Glitch, it's all about her insecurities from her childhood, and her self-confidence
Yeah.
and her self-worth in her job as a chef, and wanting to really go far within that industry, but feeling the
Yeah.
limitation and perhaps taking risks that she shouldn't have taken. And so all of them have these real life emotive stories behind them. And that is my
Yes.
favorite thing, because I'm just constantly pulling out, like,
People can relate to them.
what is this person's issue? I mean, Ruby Darling was a fun one, because she started off, and the first edits I got back on it, correctly, a word, were like, "She's not very likable." And I was like, "Yes, but I kind of have written her like that on purpose because
Yeah.
she was in this influencer bubble." I mean, fair play to influencers. I couldn't do it. I'm just every time I get on social media, I'm like, "Oh God, just let's just let it happen." She was living in this bubble, and it was very much all about consumerism and perception and everything
Yeah.
else. But her main issue was just sort of stepping away from that and actually being her authentic self. And
Yeah.
she's laced with neurodivergency as well, which is something that I often question within myself. So she's a lot of me is reflected in her in that way. And I just love pulling at those threads of because
Mm.
people always like, oh, is this person you? Is this person, is she based on you? And they're not. They never are because,
Yeah.
they're all in these wildly amazing situations that you wouldn't find yourself in. But at the heart of them, it's you just pull on that emotion of know what
Yeah.
it's like to feel like that. And I know what it's like to feel like that. So I kind of just
Yeah.
reminisce on that emotion and be like, that's how I make it feel real in the book because I'll just
Yeah.
reflect on moments in my life where I felt really self conscious or embarrassed or been hurt or
Yeah.
felt joy, whatever it may be. I pull on that. And it's my favorite thing to make these women really well rounded,
Mhm.
really realistic, and to have a story to tell outside of just falling in love. Like the falling in love
Yes.
is the bonus.
Yeah.
That's the fun part that
Yeah.
comes on top of all of the other growth
Yeah.
I can do.
And I do love that. Yeah, I love those books where there's like a message in it, and it's just a reminder, like, hey, it's fine to feel like that, or hey, it's fine to be
Yeah,
like this, or just celebrate yourself more. And yeah, I think we all need to do that. So yeah, it's
yeah.
great that you can embody a lot of that into your books.
I think as well, like I mean, obviously we do have women's stories that are aside from falling in love, but romance celebrates that in a way that a lot don't. I think,
Yeah.
when you look at thrillers, there's so much darkness. Obviously, there's complications
Mm,
around there's a murder or there's, X, Y, Z.
yes.
Everyone's betraying each other. But at the heart of romance, it just always comes back to joy. And
Yeah.
it's so rare to find that in a lot of other stories. And, women's fiction does it beautifully as well. But
Yeah.
just celebrating women and just letting us experience let us be happy. Just creating life where women are happy and they get the happy ending, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
What's to hate about that?
I know, I know. And yeah, I mean, you've produced some phenomenal work, and to get to then like, so do you get to meet some of these actors that voice your books?
Yeah, so I met Eleanor and I met, Claudia,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they were both incredible women, both lovely, but I got to spend a little bit more time with Claudia because we did some filming afterwards, and she is amazing.
I love
She is
her.
literally she's
Is
so funny,
she
so down to earth, completely we got there and we were like, just it was like I'd known her for years, and we really connected on like almost this very similar sense of humor. So
Yeah.
we were recording and, I literally left the recording studio and went, "I can't remember a single thing I said. I think I've massively overshared." So it was, yeah, she's brilliant. I'm so excited for her Bridgerton season. Like, I'm like,
I
"Come
can't wait.
on."
I just I love her in Bridgerton. I don't know about you, but like I mean, you can tell me because you've obviously met her in real life, but I just feel like she's like that in real life. Like she's like witty, and she's like,
She's so
she,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's why she was amazing as a narrator because when you're writing these jokes, it sounds really I always laugh at my own jokes, whether I'm writing them or if I'm just speaking. I'm like, "Oh, ha, ha," but that's because I'm a loser. But when you're writing a joke, you're very much conscious of, is this gonna be delivered or is this gonna be received the way I'm intending it? Because I'm picturing a very specific tone to that remark, or
yeah,
the timing needs to be just perfect for this line. Every single one, Claudia nailed it. I was like, like she knew how the joke needed to land exactly
yeah,
how I and it's not always like that because sometimes you do listen, you go, "Oh, I could have probably tweaked that," but, it's such a minor level, but with Claudia, it literally was, and so when she signed on to do This Christmas, which was the
yeah,
festive sequel, I knew instantly I was writing that book with her voice in my head because I just knew. I was like, "I know she's gonna nail the accents. I know she's
yes.
gonna nail the delivery," so I just was able to just completely, full confidence, write that as funny as I wanted it to be, knowing she would nail it, and she did. She really did. I listened to it laughing my head off.
So it's so nice though when you get an actor that can play that role, because you probably, like you said, you've got this idea in your head, and it's probably the same if anyone who's got a book out there that's been adapted into a movie or a TV series. Like, you've
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
created those people. You've then got to really make sure that whoever plays that role still
embodies it.
supports that person that you've created, because because then I think in a way you're like, oh, maybe I didn't expect that person, they've voiced it wrong, but yeah, it must be such a great feeling when
All
it
bridges
just
connect.
clicks together.
To be fair, though, I think with Audible as well, as we said at the beginning, the talent that they're looking at for narrating, like, they are all incredible actors.
Mm,
So I'd be really shocked if, the quality wasn't there because,
yeah.
I mean, Daisy Edgar Jones. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
I should pick up these names that I'm dropping. And Sam Claflin, like, oh my God,
Oh,
what is happening? Because their performances were just incredible. It didn't, and I mean, all audiobook narrators, absolute massive respect for. They are so, so, so
yeah.
talented. That having those two on the glitch was just, oh,
I
it's
love
like, oh,
him. Love
God,
him.
he's so good. And he's done a few sort of interviews post that, and he's talked about recording audiobooks and how self-conscious he feels about his voice.
Oh, he's got a
I
dream voice.
I would laugh. I thought, oh, again, but I suppose we all have our insecurities. We all have these little things in our mind that
Yeah.
we think, oh no, it's not. I don't feel comfortable with that. But his
Yeah.
voice, absolutely flawless. The second I hit play, I just kind of went because and he performed it so beautifully. There's so much angst in the glitch. And I was nervous when I released it because I'd done the Rebound and Told You So, which were very rom-com.
Yes.
They're rooted in a lot of agency for the women. So I knew that they had that core. But the glitch, this is not a rom-com. It's not a rom-com. It's a romance and it's full of happy endings and it will make you
Yeah.
laugh. But there's a lot more going on here on a sort of a deeper level. And it is one of my favorites because of that, because I'm all about the angst. I'm like,
Yeah.
give me the
Yeah.
drama. What's that Casey thing? It's the drama, Mick. I just love it. Literally, Mick. So, but when getting him to record that was
Mm,
just, absolutely just divine, because the way he delivered all of those really angsty scenes, you felt like you were there watching him,
yeah.
experience it for the first time. And yeah, I'm so excited for the film for that. So hopefully
Yes,
we'll
I
get a
did.
green light soon.
Yeah, so I saw that that's been picked up, and that's been, what did I say? I made a note here with Searchlight Pictures. So how did that happen?
Oh, well, my agent actually, when she was talking about the glitch. It was just about to come out, I think,
Mhm.
late that summer. And she was having lots of different conversations. And she said to me, she was like, every time I spoke about it, it was just, who's got the movie rights? Who's got TV rights? And I was like, oh,
Wow.
that's very exciting. So she said, I'm going to get another agent involved. And we worked with Tara, who's fantastic. She took it out. And we actually, I think I'm allowed to say this, we actually ended up going to auction. So it
Wow.
was, which was just me not checking my email, like, oh, okay, this is happening. So making dinner, like, who wants spaghetti?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was just a bit wild. But yeah, we ended up with Searchlight. They just blew me away from the instant that we started talking to them. I mean, some of the movies that they've created are some of my absolute favorite films. So I
Yes.
just, as soon as they got involved, I was like, oh my God, this is such a hard decision because everybody has been incredible. But it's Searchlight. Like, oh, I just had
Yeah,
that.
it's huge. Yeah.
This could be something really special with them. And they were
Yeah.
so enthusiastic again. And the producers that came on board as well, just incredibly talented. Marielle Heller, she's done so many, so many Oscar nominated bits and bobs, and yeah, it's been a real whirlwind. But as far as I know, I'm not allowed to say too much, but everything is going in the right direction.
So they
We've
are,
got
they're in production at the moment.
I'm always like, oh God, what can I say? Things are happening. It's all looking very good, and yeah, so that's the one I'm allowed to talk about. But there's other things happening. I'm also not allowed to talk about. So I'm like, oh
You
God.
you look at your life right now and think, "Oh my God, if I hadn't have written that first book," even though you said it wasn't
Yeah.
very good, but your best friend's still rooting for you, um, as all best friends should, and you sent it out, like, do you pinch yourself sometimes and just think, "God, imagine if I
No.
hadn't have done that? Like, I'd be probably still doing the same job or maybe something else that's,
Oh,
similar."
yeah,
And
that I had nightmares
y
about
well, I
that.
hope.
Yeah, I mean, I loved my corporate job, and I had so many amazing friendships that came out of working in that. But there does come a point where I think as well when you get to sort of in your 30s, you get quite reflective, because I feel that
Mm,
20s is very much the time period where you go, this is what I'm heading for, like the job.
yes.
When I got married and I had children, you think, yes, 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 I'm ticking things off. I'm going, I'm
Yeah.
going, I'm going. And then you kind of get to the end and go, oh, actually, hang on a minute. I don't know about this job.
Yeah.
Is this me, or have I just forced myself into this job
Yeah.
and things aren't working? And I had a very complicated relationship with that job in general. It was stressful, and it
Yes.
was great when it was great, and it was hard when it was hard, as most corporate jobs are. I really just maternity leave as well was quite a reflective time because you do start to
Mm,
think, hang on a minute, what do I want? What do I need?
yeah.
And I'm just so glad I kind of went back to my roots. I saw a really amazing quote a while ago. It said about being a woman in your 30s and 40s is just going back to your 14-year-old self, but being proud of her. And I
Yeah.
was never proud of my 14-year-old self. Well, I was the biggest loser, honestly. I had very few friends. And the ones I did that were like, Leah, you're so strange. And I was like,
Oh,
yay, yeah. But I now look back on her and I'm like, oh no, she was okay. And I feel like
yeah.
I've embraced everything that I used to feel embarrassed of. But, perfect example, people used to say to me, what's your favorite film? And I went through this real phase of like 19, 20, that kind of age. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, don't get me wrong. I love Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is a great film. Bruce Willis
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
But it's not my favorite film. My
No.
favorite is City of Angels and Titanic. And I have
Oh,
now reached the point with this age where I'm like, people are like, what's your favorite film? I'm like, Titanic, City of Angels, these, 500 Days of Summer, The Little Mermaid. Like, I
yeah.
love these films. I'm
I
proud of
know.
them, as
Yeah.
opposed to feeling like, oh no, well, I have to be a certain person because otherwise people won't
I
like me.
know. Yeah. We feel
I'm no
judged,
longer
don't we?
yeah, and I'm like, actually, do you know what? That's so silly. People obviously will still probably think, oh, this woman's just, she lives in the fairy tales and, et cetera, et cetera. But I like that. And I
Yeah.
like that. I love watching, I watched People We Meet on Vacation. And the other day I
Yeah. I
watched
love that.
Eternity, which was an amazing film. And I'm through being embarrassed
Yeah.
of loving these types of stories. And,
Yeah.
the absolute smear campaign that Twilight got at the time because,
Yeah.
One Direction and BTS, there's so many of these different aspects that we go, oh, this is for women, therefore it's less. And I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm so tired of it. I'm like, no,
I
it
know.
is not just for women. One of my biggest reviews on Audible was from a guy who's like, I'm a 40-year-old ex-copper, I play rugby. This book was amazing. I'm like,
Oh,
oh my gosh. So, these stories, they are for everyone. I think if we just
yes.
brought our minds a little bit and be like,
Yeah.
if it's a good story, it's a good story. We
Yeah.
don't, whether there's a lot of kissing or not.
It's funny you should say that about movies. Yeah, because I mean, I like the classics. Like mine was always Dirty Dancing. I watched that endlessly growing up.
I
Pretty
carried a
Woman, which
watermelon.
I know. And then Pretty Woman, because you think, oh my God, like back in the day when I used to watch it growing up, I was like, how did my mum let me watch this movie about, a hooker? And then, but it's a romance.
Yeah, yeah.
But I loved it. But I was like you, like if people ask me that, I used to be a bit like, oh yeah, I can't really remember. Like I don't really have like a really favorite movie. But now
Yeah.
I just voice it. I'm like, this movie, because I don't care. I think, yeah, you
Yeah,
just get proud to be like that kind of shaped my childhood. Like that
yeah,
actually taught
exactly.
me be a romantic, to be like, that's why, like, I love reading all genres, but I do tend to navigate quite a lot to romance. And I think that's probably stemmed through watching those. I just loved that end story of like they always got together and it was like,
It's
just a
just
happy
joy.
ending.
It's just joy, and I think we
Yeah,
need, especially in times like these, we need more of that,
I
and
do.
we need more stories that are gonna uplift us and make us feel happy, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's really important. I feel like it's dismissed as unimportant, romance,
Yes.
and it
Yeah.
really is. I think as well, I mean, I used to read a lot of fan fiction.
Yeah.
I will never disclose what fan fiction I was reading because that will just add accusations. But I used to read. I was a prolific reader of fan fiction when I was younger. Also used to write some stuff. Again,
Yeah.
not about that. But it was so formative in terms of how I sort of perceived these love stories. And I was also a massive fan of Buffy.
Yeah.
And I rewatched Buffy recently, actually, and my husband was laughing because he was
It's so
like,
cheesy when you watch it
you
back.
love it. You love it too much. And I'm like, yes, but I'm happy. Leave me alone. But I said, you don't understand because when I was really young, there were so few stories about just
Mm.
unapologetically strong women. And Buffy was one of them.
She was one of them, yes.
She saved the day. Nobody,
Yeah.
if the men came to save her, they just got in her way. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
just
So true.
it really, it resonated with me as a young girl to be like,
Yeah.
I can save myself and I can,
Yeah.
sorry, maybe I'm being a bit, I don't know how much saving of myself I've done, but you know what I'm saying? It's just that reinforcement, isn't it? That we are more than, what society, the boxes
Mm.
society pushes us into. And I just, yeah. And so those stories as well, when I'm writing, as I said, like looping back to what I just said, it's so important for me to make these women sort of stand on their
Mm,
own, have their own all encompassing stories
yeah.
aside from the love story, which, the love story is still such an important part. It's my favorite bit.
Yeah.
When the first kiss is just like, or the moment before the first kiss is
Oh,
just like,
that feeling.
sometimes I just write that bit first. It's quite, yeah. When I write books, people are quite surprised. I never write them in order. I will literally just, I've said literally again, I will just write them depending on what mood I'm in. So if I'm in the mood to write a big argument scene, or if I'm in the mood to write a love
Yeah.
scene or a witty bat, or, some sort of see back and forth, I will just open my laptop and go, right, this is the scene I'm writing. And then I will figure out where it goes
Oh, that's
later on
so good. Yeah.
because otherwise I can't enjoy it if I
Yeah,
force
that
myself
moment. Yeah, because
right.
it's an emotion, isn't it? It's yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, not that I'm a mood writer, I wouldn't say, but yeah, it's a big, big part of my process is just
Yeah.
what am I in the mood to write today? I'm gonna write that scene, and
Yes.
then I'll just, yeah, slot it all in.
I
It's a
love
messy
that.
mix.
It's like a Jenga.
So,
It's like, "Hey,
yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
gonna" yeah.
Parts, I now just need to figure out where they're all
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly. So question then, because obviously you've had quite a ramped up success, right? But you've obviously put a lot of yourself into this, and there was obviously rejection at the start. What are some of the challenges that you've faced even prior to getting the deal with Audible or since you've had the deal?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel imposter syndrome is a huge, huge
Mm.
one for me. I constantly feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and at any minute, everyone is going to realize that. I'm going to be like, "Oh no!" So that's fun to contend with. I also, it's really funny. Well, it's not really funny. I read my reviews. I read a lot of them,
Do
not
you?
all of them. I'm a bit, yeah. I can't help myself. It's like picking at a scab. So that's a big challenge for me. I need to kind of just step away from that. I mean, I've never replied, never responded. I don't know. It's almost like it's curiosity, like watching a
Yeah.
card. Oh, okay. So this is how it's being received. I feel like on one hand, some of that's really important because it's good to see how your book is resonating with readers, what they're
Yeah.
loving, what they're not loving. But at the same time, there's nothing I can do about that. The book is out there and the book is finished. So
Yes.
if somebody says, I didn't like this or I didn't like that, it's too late. There's nothing I
Yeah.
can do. I suppose I'm a bit of a control freak, so maybe that's part of my process of letting go.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, because you said earlier that like the review from the ex copper, and he
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. How do you tackle the ones then that maybe aren't as nice? Have you developed that thick skin now, or do you just kind of let it wash
I
over
don't have
you?
Yeah, I don't have a thick skin at all. I'm incredibly sensitive. Anyone who knows me knows you will literally be able to tell exactly how I'm feeling because I can't hide
Yeah,
a lot of my emotions, especially when they're big emotions. But when it comes to negative reviews, I've definitely built up a thick skin.
yeah.
I didn't read it. And also, do you know what the most amazing thing was for me in my process is before The Rebound was released, I went and read the negative reviews of all of my favorite books. My perception completely changed on negative reviews from then on because I was like, these people,
It's
they don't
harsh,
know what
aren't
they're
they?
talking about. I was like, this book is a masterpiece.
Yeah,
Although I can kind of see where they're coming from with that, but I don't care. I love it anyway.
yeah,
It's that aspect of it. And it gave me such a detachment from
yeah,
my own negative reviews when I started reading them. And it was weird. When The Rebound came out, I would log on and I would be like, oh, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Like, we're not being attacked by a bear. We're just reading some words. Okay. And I would get really flustered. And now, I'll go weeks at a time and not even think about it. And then I'll scroll through and be like, oh, sorry about that. You did not enjoy it. I'm terribly sorry. I hope that you have found other books that you do like. And then I
yeah.
move on. So it's definitely become a bit more of a almost like relinquishing the control of it and just being
Yes.
okay with not being
Yeah.
liked.
You're not going to please everyone. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes people might pick up one of your books just to try it and then be like, oh, actually, it's not for me. And we
Mhm.
do live in a world where people like to have more negative opinions out there than more
Yeah,
positive.
yeah.
Because
The
I
algorithm
was,
loves them. The
oh,
algorithm loves the negativity.
I do. And then people get on their keyboard warriors, aren't they? And like straight onto their
Like,
doing,
we're all guilty of it. I mean, I watched a film a couple of weeks ago and I said to my husband, I went, this would have been so much better if this had happened at the end. And he was like, oh, just let it go. So he's like, it would have been. It would have been. Imagine if this had happened and then this has happened. And it's just such a natural part of being human and experiencing
yeah,
art.
yeah, yeah.
We all come to it with our own viewpoints, and sometimes you'll have really strong ones, and sometimes you'll
Oh,
be like,
100%.
I loved
Oh,
it. So I
yeah. I mean,
feel I feel like
No,
as an author, I'm
yeah,
just into that zone of it's okay to not be liked. And
yeah,
thankfully, like most of my reviews are really promising and really good, and that's
yeah,
lovely. Remember word for word all the negative ones, but at the same time, I'm gonna say it doesn't matter. Of course, it matters, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just part of the process,
yeah.
and back along with it. And I've learned to be okay with that. I mean, obviously, if I ever release a book and it's completely panned, I would be devastated.
I think your agent would say, no.
For me, it's if more people like it than loathe it, then happy days. That's
Yeah,
kind of my
yeah,
process now, and just
yeah, yeah,
yeah, what I'm trying to do is make people feel something, and sometimes that's negative, but most of the time it's positive. I just want people
yeah,
to kind of come to my books and think, "Oh, that was an experience," or "I felt butterflies," or "I cried,"
yeah,
or "I laughed out loud." My favorite is when someone says, "It made me laugh out loud,"
yes,
because that's such a like an ego booster for me. I'm like, "Yes,
yeah, yeah,
it feels amazing." And that's all you're trying to do. And obviously, when that, that amalgamation of emotions, of course, there's going to be negative ones. But some of my favorite negative reviews are like, I was so angry she did this. Like, she did this and I couldn't believe it. And I think, but that's how I wanted you to feel. I
yeah, exactly.
wanted you to feel
It's
like,
not about your writing. Yeah, it's about the
yeah,
character.
right, and if you step away from that and be like, because and fair enough, that's their right to feel that way when they're listening and reading it. But for me, it's like, I actually wanted that reaction because
Yeah,
she is in the wrong. She is in the
yeah,
wrong, and I think that's another really important point as well. I think that comes hand in hand with romance is this need to write likable women. And I said about
mhm,
Leanne as well, wanting to make her likable. I have such an issue with this because we don't have to, I can write the most horrible man. He can say awful things. He can be an absolute
yeah.
knob. And everyone's like, loved him. What a legend. He's my favorite. Whereas we can't do that with female characters. And
No,
hopefully
no,
one day we'll get there. But at the moment, we have to be so mindful of how she is being perceived and what
mm,
she's doing it, the decisions she's making. And I feel like in my books, I'm always pushing against that a little bit. And
yes,
I'm like, well, she is gonna, and I know it's a mistake, and the character probably knows it's a mistake, but humans make mistakes.
yeah, they do.
So,
Yeah,
and that's what I love about storytelling is putting these
mm,
characters in where they don't always do the right thing first. The glitch is a huge one for that. Is, if you've not read it, it's no spoilers, but it's two parallel timelines. So you've got Henry telling the story of how they fell in love and how they fell apart, and then
yeah,
Grace telling the story almost in the do-over, the glitch, where everything is happening again and her reaction
mhm,
to that. And she is a completely different person to who she is the first time round.
yeah,
But a lot of people, when you listen, you think, "Oh, I didn't like her in the first time around." I'm like, you're not supposed to.
yes,
She's not perfect. He's not perfect. Neither of them are. That's the point of the story,
yeah,
is that they've then grown. So it's finding ways to have fun with that while still making it
yeah,
enjoyable
yeah,
and a satisfying ending. And so, yeah, I'm always just trying to push against the likable, because I'm like,
yes,
we're all unlikable sometimes. I'm, gosh, catch me at first thing in the morning, and I'm the
yeah,
most miserable person in the world. So, we're all human, and I just want them to feel real. And to be fair, there's so many romance authors doing that really well. I think Carly
yeah,
Fortune is one of my absolute favorites. She does that brilliantly. That
yeah,
character
yeah,
making mistakes and learning from it and coming back
yeah.
from that. It's my favorite type of storytelling. It really
Yeah,
is.
it's fantastic. Yeah, it is. So, what advice would you give to any aspiring author out there? Any advice that you would?
Don't stop. I feel there's going to be so many points and so many times where you either feel like you should, or somebody
Mm,
tells you, or tiredness or exhaustion, etc. is just going to push on those sensitivities and make you think this is not worth my time.
uh,
But if you're enjoying it and it's making you happy, then don't stop. Like,
yeah,
nobody can make you stop, and you shouldn't stop, because sharing art and creating art is your right, and you have
yeah,
as much right to do that as everybody else. And if you want to tell your story, tell it.
yeah,
And maybe some people won't want to listen, some people will. It doesn't matter. Just do what feels right for you, because that's how we get into the position that we're going to get in, where we've got lots of a variety of stories and a variety of viewpoints, and we're all learning from each other, and
yes,
we need everybody's voices. And I think, it's it's easy for me to say that because I'm in this position now where I've come out the other side and I'm doing it full time. But
yeah,
I want to read more stories by people who don't look like me and who don't have my experience and who haven't lived the life I've lived. And it's so
yeah,
important. Like, we need the stories that don't stop. Like, even
yeah.
when the world tells you to stop, don't stop.
We need those new voices coming through. Yeah, 100%. And there's enough space for everyone in this
Yeah,
world. I
there really
think
is. And we will make space. We will make
Yes.
space for everyone. We've just got to get these new voices coming through. And I think
Yeah,
publishing.
and what we have to do, I don't know about you, obviously you have young children just like I do, is that I'm very adamant, and thankfully my son who's 6 loves to read, but I think we
Yeah,
need
love
to develop, we need to keep getting children loving
that.
to read.
Especially boys as well, especially
Yes.
boys. I feel
Yeah.
like I think it's more naturalized or normalized to see, younger girls with books. But
Yes.
boys especially, I mean, my son is massively into like the Dog Man and the
Yeah,
Bunny versus
same.
Bunny. Yeah. And essentially, I mean, I look at them sometimes, I think, oh, because it's not pages upon pages of words, they're almost like graphic
Yeah.
novels. It's a starting point.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
in his hands, it's just because
Yeah.
that's how we learn about the world, and it's how we experience other people's viewpoints and emotions and experiences. And we just need more of that. We need more
Yeah.
of that.
We do. We do. 100%. 100%. So you've got a lot happening, but you've got your 6th book called
Yeah.
Lovers and Liars coming
Love is
out
a
this
bias.
year.
Yes.
What has it got a release date yet?
No. So with Audible, as I said, we are just finishing up on the edits now. So we're
Yeah.
it goes so quickly that it's almost like, oh, the book is done. It's coming out. So there'll be more on that soon.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll be able to talk about narration and
Yeah.
and release date. So it'll be summer. It'll be summer. That's what
Yeah.
we're aiming for. But again, Audible is so
Amazing.
flexible that we can literally be
Yeah.
like, oh, this is slightly changed, so we're going to go for a week earlier, or so. But once I
Yes.
have a date, obviously, I'll begin shouting about that from the rooftops. But yeah, it's a really fun one. It's about 2 rival publicists who spend the summer on a press tour, hiding the divorce of one of Hollywood's beloved couples. So they're completely warring, and these 2 publicists are basically just trying to keep everything under wraps so that it doesn't leak to the press. And then they start to find that this rivalry between them is a little bit more complicated and a little bit more sexy than they'd expected. So, but yeah, there's lots of love and there's lots of lies, and it's a real fun
Oh,
one. And there's a guy with some very slutty glasses. So
love it.
yeah, I'm like, it's all about the women's stories, and I'm like, and a man with his slutty
Yeah.
glasses, just giving everyone what they want. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it.
And I'm sure they'll have a list of like the actors that will play the
Yeah,
roles, which will be again
I think this one's definitely going to be dual POV again. So we've got 2 voices, which
nice.
yeah, I'm excited
Love
about
it.
that. So, yeah, and then as soon as I get off this call, I'm straight into planning my 2027. Yeah, that's what year is it? 2027 book. So yeah,
God,
we keep going.
never
So,
ends.
yeah, but in a good
You're
way.
doing what you love. You're doing
Yeah,
a
you
full.
write the end and then you go next one.
Well, I've absolutely loved hearing your story. And again, I feel like there's so much more we could dive into, but it'll have to be a part 2 at some point, especially with all the amazing things that you've got coming up. But more importantly, where can people find you? Where's the best place for them to connect
Yeah,
with you?
so Instagram and TikTok. Watch my TikTok with a little bit of she's very uncomfortable. I go a bit Stevie sometimes. I can't help it. It's just anyway. So it's Leanne Slade, author. I spell my name really weird. My parents love vowels. Just you'll find me, Leanne Slade. You'll find me on there. Yeah, or if not that, all of my books are available on Audible. Hopefully soon I'll be able to talk about other formats.
Yes.
That is forefront. The exclusivity with Audible is kind of nearing its completion. So we're looking at getting them out in other formats. So hopefully I'll be able to talk about that really
So
soon.
good.
So,
I reckon you'll have so many publishing houses auctioning for those bidding. It'll be a bidding war.
that would be lovely.
Well, I've absolutely loved chatting to you. Thank you so much for coming on, Leanne. Really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Anytime.